Today I want to talk about safety between dogs and kids. It's an extremely important issue. It can be a safety issue for dogs because if they bite a child, they often will be put to sleep. And it's a safety issue for children. Even if it's not a severe bite, it's often in the face because little children are right at the dog's level. And sometimes they need stitches, and it can be emotionally really scary for the family and especially the child. I recently had a family member who had never owned a dog before, and she adopted a dog from the shelter. And she asked me for just basic training advice, so I just told her about, potty training and crate training and basics, and I neglected to tell her the basic protocols to keep her 5-year-old daughter safe. And I really regretted it because the little girl was bitten in the face. She didn't need stitches. It wasn't a severe bite, but she got bitten in the face when she went to hug the dog, which is a very common way for children to be bitten. The dog bit a neighbor boy in the face later that day when he went to hug the dog. And the dog got taken back to the shelter, and the dog was very lucky in that a different family adopted the dog who already owned one of its siblings. So it didn't end up disastrous, but often it ends up in the death of the dog and a lot of trauma for the family. My name's Danelle. If you're new here, I have been a dog trainer for about 40 years. I've been a search and rescue dog handler for 30 years. I had a dog training business for about 20 years here in Southeast Alaska. I have rehabilitated aggressive dogs, shy dogs, just kind of crazy dogs. Right now I have 3 border collies that I train in search and rescue, and we have a Chihuahua that we rescued who had been through a few homes. So that's my background. What are the basic safety protocols for keeping children safe around dogs? Number 1, and this goes with a story that I just told, hugs are not always welcome by dogs, especially new dogs, dogs that have not established that bond of trust with the family. They haven't established yourself or the children as their leaders. They don't understand you, they don't know you yet. So when you get a new dog, you really need to establish that trust and that leadership. I'm going to put a link to my blog that talks about leadership walking. I also have a video that I will link to leadership walking. Leadership walking, a loose leash with a collar next to you is the best and most powerful way to establish leadership with your dog. And you have your child go with you, and you go for leadership walks until that dog understands that he is the follower, that he can learn how the child moves, he can build a bond with you and start to build that trust that you need. So no hugs until you have established that very close bond. Dogs do not just bite out of nowhere. We sometimes hear people say that, but that is not true. There are subtle body language signs. You can actually Google some little graphics that'll show you a few of the signs of stress that dogs will give you. This family member sent me a photo when she first adopted the dog of the dog lying on the floor. Her daughter was lying with her head against the dog's side, and the dog's head was turned really far away from the child. And I almost said something to her that was not looking like a safe situation, but I didn't want to make her worried or sad about her new beloved dog, so I said nothing, and now I really regret it. So watch for that. When the child approaches the dog, does the dog move away, try to get away, try to escape? Then watch for that. Watch for the dog turning the head away when the child is petting it or approaching it. Watch for what they call whale eye, and that's where the dog gets kind of stiff and then looks up, and you'll see the whites of the eye like that. That is not a good sign. Obviously, we all know that growling or showing the teeth is also a bad sign. One thing that people don't know sometimes is that yawning is a sign of stress. So watch your dog's body language around your child. So when you get a new dog, and if you have young children around, management is key. So you can use baby gates. You can have the dog on a leash to just make sure the interactions go well. If the dog is on a leash, if you see those signs of stress in the dog, just move the dog away, ask the child to also move away. The child can interact with the dog by offering a treat with an open hand. Sometimes shy dogs find reaching with a hand, even with a treat in it, is too intimidating, too stressful, so even that can be too stressful. So just having the child maybe just sit down near the dog and not trying to get near it. You can also, when the dog is eating, have the child hold the child close to you, and the child could throw treats toward the dog's bowl. If the dog starts growling or stiffening up or stops eating and looks stiff, that's not a good sign. You need to go and work on food safety protocols. I will link an article that I wrote about food safety protocols in the description. So you can check that out too. So the dog might need help with that. Food bowls can be a very dangerous spot. Same thing with very high value treats like rawhides and any like animal parts, chew toys. The dog can get extremely possessive about it. I would not give those kind of chew toys at all, not at all with a child around. They're too high value. I'd give the dog more just boring, plain chew toys, maybe a Nylabone, something like that. If the dog gets stiff and growly, even with a boring toy, I would just say no chew toys at all, if any toys are a problem. In that case, that's called resource guarding. That's when it might be good to hire a trainer to work with you, because our dogs at resource guard are just not safe around kids. They need a lot of work and a lot of that leadership work. Another critical thing with dogs and kids, especially a new dog, do not let them have unsupervised time together. Know where the child is, know where the dog is. They shouldn't be in any room alone together at all. I just heard from a distant family member who they live on a farm, they have two really large, powerful dogs. I don't really know where the dogs were, but they had a visiting little boy, I think it was a nephew, and he was out playing and they just assumed everything was okay. Those dogs ganged up and attacked that little boy and actually almost killed him. So no unsupervised time with especially a new dog, maybe it's a dog you've always had, but maybe there's visiting kids and the dog isn't used to, you just don't know. No unsupervised time. That is not safe until you have really vetted the relationship between the dog and the child, and you see that the dog is relaxed, just a open, panting, happy mouth, a relaxed, wagging body. And so supervision, really important. Another thing to teach kids is you don't approach the dog, let the dog approach you. And when the dog approaches them, maybe you could give the child a treat, and then the child could say sit, and then you're right there. Child's not doing this by itself. The child can say, sit, Audrey, and then you're right there to back it up and make sure the dog does sit. And then the dog realizes it's not just the child, it's you. You want that dog to listen to the child and to respect the child. And then the dog sits, and then the child can offer the treat. Or even safer, just toss the treat on the ground for the dog. The child doesn't need to actually reach toward the dog. Just drop the treat on the ground. If you have kids visiting, and you have a nervous dog, a dog you're not unsure of, and they're just visiting, they're not going to be living with you or staying with you, you can just put the dog in its crate, put it in a safe zone. If you do have kids that are living in your house, they're your own or your grandchildren, and you have an old dog that maybe just has no patience for kids, or you have a new dog that you're not sure of and you do not have time to supervise and work through the relationship, just put the dog in its crate, put it behind a baby gate, tell the kids they are absolutely not allowed to approach the crate, they're not allowed to go to the baby gate. Kids might be tempted to tease the dog because they think it's funny that it's behind the gate. Don't let them do that. If you have to, go just put the dog in your car to make absolutely sure that everyone is safe. You can use calm, structured activities like the leadership walks that I mentioned, maybe little training sessions with the kids right alongside you, like with the sit exercise, the walk exercise. If you're walking the dog and you're doing a good job with leadership walking, the dog is walking calmly on a loose leash, the child could hold the leash for a little bit. It helps the child trust the dog, helps the dog trust the child, also builds the dog's respect for the child. So you can use structured activities like that to build the respect and the trust between the dog and the child. And don't rush any of this bonding and leadership stuff. Some dogs, especially slightly nervous dogs, which my family member's dog was a little bit nervous. He had some nervous behaviors, like inappropriate elimination in the house. So it can take weeks, it can take months for some dogs. We don't really know what the background is with a shelter dog. So often, so it can take a long time for them to relearn leadership and to relax. A lot of times these dogs come from homes where the people didn't do any training with them, any relationship building. So it can take a long time to kind of overcome some of those habits. And if you are noticing danger signals in your dog, find a trainer, find a really good trainer, see if you can get some references. Has the trainer actually been able to help people with these problems before? Sometimes the trainers, maybe not very experienced with this, maybe all they want to do is 100% positive everything, and they're not actually getting progress with the dog, or it's really, really slow because all they want to do is just one way of doing things. So it would be great if it was a balanced trainer that is willing to try different things to keep everybody safe and to make this dog your dream companion. So dogs that the child doesn't know, don't let them approach those dogs. If you're out on a walk and there's a beautiful dog, and I wouldn't let my kids go up and pet that dog. Some people will say, my dog is really friendly, just because they want that to be true. But I wouldn't trust, especially a child that's so small that its face is going to be right at that dog's level. Now, some dogs, it's going to be obvious if they're friendly. You know, you come up on a retriever and it's wagging so hard and it's just trying to lick the child in the face, and that's kind of obvious. But in general, I wouldn't really believe people with the safety of my child at stake. So the children in your home and your dogs can have that magical relationship that we all dream of. You just have to put in the effort. You have to be aware. You don't just take for granted that the dog loves kids because it's trying to jump on them and it looks so excited about them. Look for those little danger signals. The dog freezing, the whale eye, the dog trying to get away. Look for those signs to keep your kids safe. One thing that's good to teach your child too is if they're out in the neighborhood and a loose dog approaches them, teach them to stand like a tree, freeze like a tree, so that they never ever run from a strange dog. That will trigger the predatory drive in the dog and the child could really get hurt. So just stand really still, don't scream. That is the safest thing to do. Don't move their hands around and everything. So if you want to watch a video about leadership walking, which is my favorite way to bond with a new dog, it helps you bond with the dog. And if you already have dogs, it can bond your current dog with your new dog. It establishes you as the leader. It's extremely powerful. If you want to see that, check out that video there. Thanks for watching.